courtroom went silent. Katt Williams stood there trembling, his eyes bloodshot, voice breaking, and then he did the unthinkable. He apologized, not just to the judge, not just to the fans, but to the entire world. But that apology wasn't the end. It was the beginning of something far darker. Because with those few words came a confession that tied him directly to one of the most whispered about scandals in years: the mysterious downfall of Reggie Carol. Now, why would Katt Williams, known for roasting Hollywood, clowning the elites, and exposing dirty secrets on stage, suddenly crack wide open in front of a judge? Why now? And why risk everything when his own team reportedly begged him to stay silent? Some say it was guilt. Others claim it was pressure. But whispers inside the courthouse suggest something far scarier: a leaked letter, evidence investigators had been hiding, proof that Katt wasn't acting alone. And the biggest question of all? Did Katt Williams just sacrifice himself to protect the truth? Or was this the breaking point of a man crushed under his own lies? The apology had barely left his mouth before the courtroom erupted into chaos. Reporters leaned forward, scribbling furiously. Cameras zoomed in to capture every twitch of his face. Even the judge shifted in his seat like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. After years of Katt mocking Hollywood's powerful, suddenly he was standing there, admitting guilt. And not just any guilt. He was linking himself to Reggie Carol, the name that's been haunting the shadows of this case for months. So who exactly was Reggie Carol, and why does his name carry so much weight? For those who haven't been following the whispers, Reggie wasn't just some random street figure caught in the wrong place at the wrong time. He was plugged into networks that stretched from the underground all the way into industry circles. He wasn't famous in the traditional sense. You didn't see him on red carpets or late-night interviews. But behind closed doors, his name carried power. His downfall? Bloody. Mysterious. Surrounded by more conspiracy theories than an Area 51 forum. Some claimed he was a fixer, the kind of man who made problems disappear for the rich and powerful. Others swore he had dirt, evidence, that could destroy careers if it ever came out. And here was Katt Williams, in open court, practically saying, "Yeah, I knew more than I let on. And it's time I come clean." The room didn't just gasp, they froze. Because if Katt was confessing, that meant every sarcastic rant he ever dropped on stage, every side-eye comment about Hollywood's darkest corners, wasn't just comedy. It was foreshadowing. And the internet? It exploded. Within minutes, hashtags like Katt confesses and courtroom meltdown were trending. Clips of his shaky apology were already bouncing across TikTok before the court stenographer even finished typing. But the real twist came when Katt carefully hinted that he wasn't the only one involved, that there were others in the room the night everything went down. And the way he said it? Like a man daring the powerful to silence him. "If I'm going down," his tone suggested, "I'm not going alone." And that's when whispers about a leaked letter began to surface. A mysterious piece of evidence investigators had supposedly been sitting on, a handwritten note said to link Carol's death not just to street rivals, but to insiders in the entertainment industry itself. According to courthouse chatter, the note had names, big names, names that could turn this from a scandal into a nightmare. Whispers turned into roars when talk of a leaked letter hit the courthouse. According to insiders, investigators had been sitting on a handwritten note that connected Reggie Carol's death not just to his street enemies, but to powerful figures inside the entertainment industry itself. And this wasn't just vague scribbles. Anonymous sources claimed the letter had names. Names people recognized. Names big enough to shake entire careers, topple reputations, and drag Hollywood into the mud. Suddenly, the trial wasn't just about Katt Williams' apology. It was about whether that letter would ever see the light of day. Reporters scrambled to chase the story, but it was social media that lit the fire. Within hours, hashtags were trending worldwide. Or letter leak, or Hollywood exposed, and of course, Katt confesses dominated timelines. One live stream on YouTube pulled in nearly 200,000 viewers, all debating the same question. Was Katt's courtroom breakdown a genuine apology, or a calculated move to protect himself before someone else leaked the truth? Twitter split in two. Some users swore Katt was finally exposing the secrets he'd been joking about for years, calling him a whistleblower in disguise. Others insisted the whole thing was staged, a Hollywood sacrifice to distract from something even bigger. And then came the conspiracy theorists, spinning stories about stand-in judges, fake trials, and cover-ups orchestrated by people at the very top. Absurd? Maybe. Viral? Absolutely. And just when the noise couldn't get any louder, another bombshell dropped. A leaked audio clip surfaced online, supposedly recorded from Katt's holding cell before the trial began. The voice sounded like him, shaky and broken, muttering the words, "I ain't the only one with blood on my hands." Some swore they heard a second voice in the background whispering, "Don't say my name." Whether real or fabricated, the internet didn't care. They slowed it down, remixed it, dissected every breath like it was the Zapruder film. And overnight, the rumors shifted from Katt being guilty to Katt being part of a cover-up far bigger than anyone had imagined. The leaked audio had already set the internet on fire, but the chaos didn't stop there. Because inside that courtroom, people began noticing something even stranger. When Katt Williams spoke Reggie Carol's name, the judge's face changed. Judges are trained to keep their emotions locked down, poker-faced no matter what's said. But in that split second, the mask slipped. His eyes widened, his jaw tightened, and some swore he even looked afraid. That one moment was enough to ignite a storm of speculation. Was the judge compromised? Did he know more than he was letting on? And why did Katt's words shake him in a way no confession ever should? Twitter threads exploded. Some users dug into the judge's past, claiming he once worked at a law firm tied to Reggie Carol's associates. Others pointed to missing documents, files that vanished from public record immediately after the hearing ended. Officials brushed it off as technical errors, but to the internet, it looked like a cover-up. Meanwhile, YouTube channels and TikTok detectives broke the case down frame by frame. They replayed the judge's reaction in slow motion, zoomed in on his expression, and built theories faster than mainstream media could keep up. Was this trial even about Katt Williams, or was it about silencing the truth before it reached too many people? And then, another leak surfaced. This time, it wasn't a letter or a rumor. It was an audio clip supposedly recorded inside the courthouse during recess. The muffled sounds of arguing, then what sounded like Katt's voice snapping, "You think I'm the only one who's going to fall? Check the bank transfers. Check the tapes. Real or AI generated, it didn't matter." The clip went viral instantly. TikTok flooded with slowed-down breakdowns of every syllable, Twitter trended with wild theories, and Instagram Reels dramatized it with ominous music. The story was no longer about guilt or innocence. It was about survival. And for the first time, the public started asking the question no one wanted to say out loud. What if Katt Williams wasn't just confessing? What if he was warning us? While the courtroom buzzed with whispers, the real firestorm was happening online. Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. Every platform turned into a battlefield of theories, leaks, and accusations. Some of it was clearly fake, with photoshopped documents and sloppy edits. Others, disturbingly convincing. One image claimed to show Reggie Carol's name scrawled next to the initials of major Hollywood producers. Another alleged a massive hush money transfer just days before his death. Were they authentic? No one could say for sure. But in the age of viral content, truth doesn't matter. What spreads fastest is what people want to believe, and people wanted to believe the worst. TikTok detectives treated the case like a Netflix series, breaking down timelines, lip-reading blurry videos, and even role-playing as Reggie Carol himself in dramatized skits. Hashtags like "Who was in the room" and "Just Carol's Truth" racked up millions of views in just 48 hours. But here's where things turned darker. Some users claimed their accounts mysteriously vanished after posting about the case. A Reddit thread cataloging Carol's alleged connections was suddenly locked by moderators with no explanation. Twitter users swore their phones began glitching after mentioning certain names. Was it paranoia? Maybe. But paranoia spreads like wildfire when people think powerful hands are pulling the strings. And in the middle of all this digital chaos sat Katt Williams, silent, shaking his head in the courtroom, almost like he knew the storm outside was far bigger than any sentence a judge could hand down. His apology wasn't just about guilt anymore. It felt like a survival move, a desperate attempt to get ahead of something much more dangerous. And as the internet spiraled, Katt himself made a decision that would shock the room again. Instead of retreating after his apology, Katt Williams leaned forward, eyes locked on the judge, and delivered a line that sent chills through the courtroom. "You can sentence me. You can bury me. But you can't stop what's already out there." For a moment, the room went dead silent. Then, whispers rippled through the gallery. Was Katt bluffing? Or had he just confirmed the existence of something far bigger than anyone realized? And then, he smiled. Not a nervous smile, not a broken smile, but that eerie, knowing grin of a man who either lost his mind or was 10 steps ahead of everyone else. The reaction outside the courtroom was instant. Celebrities began picking sides. One R&B singer tweeted, "Katt wasn't lying all these years, y'all just weren't ready to hear it." The post vanished within minutes, but screenshots live forever. On the flip side, a comedian who once toured with Katt went live on Instagram, calling him paranoid and desperate. The divide only fueled the fire. Meanwhile, underground blogs fanned the flames with new so-called evidence. One blog claimed to have obtained financial records showing payments from a production company to Reggie Carol just weeks before his death. Why would a legitimate company funnel money to a man later tied to murder, blackmail, hush money, or something far worse? Mainstream outlets ignored the story, sticking to the safe, comedian breaks down in court narrative. But the internet? It was already convinced there was more. The screenshot of the alleged payment spread faster than wildfire, becoming the newest smoking gun. And then the trial took its darkest turn yet. During a recess, the judge abruptly left the bench. Court officials said he was feeling unwell, but insiders whispered about something far stranger. A sealed folder of documents had vanished from his desk during the break. Even worse, security footage conveniently blacked out for exactly 5 minutes during the disappearance. Officials called it a technical glitch. The public called it a cover-up. By evening, new headlines dominated the news cycle. Judge disappears mid-trial, evidence missing. And while officials scrambled to explain it away, Katt leaned back in his chair with that same smug grin, as if he already knew how deep the rabbit hole went. The tension in the courtroom was unbearable. Katt Williams sat drenched in sweat, his voice trembling as he leaned into the microphone. "I can't carry this guilt anymore," he whispered. "Reggie didn't deserve it. None of this was supposed to happen." The words hit the gallery like a bomb. Reporters typed so furiously you could hear keyboards clattering across the room. This wasn't comedy. This wasn't performance. It was confession. And then, Katt dropped the real bombshell. Reggie Carol, he claimed, wasn't just some street figure caught in a bad deal. He was a man with dirt, dangerous dirt, on some of the most powerful names in entertainment. According to Katt, Reggie had become a whistleblower. And his death? It wasn't about personal beef. It was about silencing him before the wrong secrets leaked out. The courtroom erupted. Some laughed in disbelief, others shouted, but everyone knew this wasn't just about Katt anymore. This was about an industry-wide conspiracy. Journalists scrambled to keep up, headlines flashing words like "Hollywood under siege" and "whistleblower silenced." Anonymous sources whispered that even federal agencies were now sniffing around, allegedly requesting sealed files tied to Reggie's business dealings. Online, theories spun out of control. Was this about money laundering? Secret societies? Hidden tapes locked away in vaults? TikTokers dramatized the story like it was a Netflix series. Twitter turned into an open forum of investigators, each thread wilder than the last. And in the middle of it all was Katt Williams, crying into his hands, begging Reggie's family for forgiveness he might never receive. To some, it looked like raw sincerity. To others, it was another master performance from a man who's made a career out of controlling the room. But sincerity or not, the damage was immediate. Rumors swirled that Reggie Carol's family was preparing a massive civil lawsuit, aiming for millions in damages. Sponsors pulled out overnight. Netflix allegedly shelved his next special. Even his closest friends distanced themselves, posting vague prayers without daring to mention his name. Katt had cracked Hollywood wide open. And if what he said was true, he wasn't just confessing. He was dragging an entire empire down with him. By the end of the day, the courtroom no longer felt like a trial. It felt like a stage for something much bigger. The chaos outside, the leaks, the headlines, the protests. None of it compared to Katt Williams' final words before court adjourned. He lifted his head, eyes swollen from tears, voice breaking but steady enough to cut through the silence. "I never wanted this," he said quietly. But maybe the truth had to come out this way. And just like that, the room froze. No one moved. No one spoke. For a split second, the entire courtroom felt the weight of those words. Words that sounded less like a confession and more like a warning. The fallout was immediate. Major networks plastered his face across every screen, labeling him everything from fallen comedian to Hollywood's whistleblower. Protesters filled the streets, some demanding justice for Reggie, others defending Katt as a man brave enough to speak out. The entertainment world fractured, with insiders whispering about careers destroyed before the storm had even passed. But the most haunting part wasn't the lawsuits, the lost deals, or the shattered friendships. It was the silence that followed. The kind of silence that doesn't mean peace, but danger. Because if Katt was right, if Reggie Carol really knew too much, then his apology wasn't the ending. It was just the spark. So now the question is, what happens next? Was Katt Williams a broken man finally unmasking himself after years of guilt? Or was he playing the greatest performance of his life, turning his downfall into the biggest expose Hollywood has ever seen? And if Reggie Carol really was silenced because of what he knew, then how deep does this rabbit hole go? Because one thing's certain, this story isn't over. Not by a long shot. The leaks, the backlash, the fallout, it's only getting louder. And when the next bombshell drops, it could shake the entire industry to its core.